So let's dive into the next evolution of marketing analytics. And I'll welcome to the stage Paul and Eric. Please take a quick moment to introduce yourselves and then feel free to dive in and I'll stop sharing so you can share.
Hey Jeremy, thanks for having us. Yeah, I'm Paul Dereval, co-founder here with NinjaCat. We're basically building enterprise marketing AGI. That's our mission. There's a data cloud product that we've been building for 13 years, started in client reporting for agencies, proof of value, and that led us to building a beautiful data cloud foundation that enabled us to take advantage of AI and specifically AI agents. And that's our mission, be first enterprise marketing AGI. You'll see based on the demos today, either how close or how far we are from that. And I'll let our friend Eric here introduce himself. But thankful to Eric. Eric is one of our customers and design partners here at NinjaCat. They're a customer of ours, but I'll let him do his proper intro, and then we'll jump
Yeah,
in.
thank you. Yeah, I'm Eric McNett. I lead marketing effectiveness at VML here. And so it was very interesting to hear the last conversation because a lot of the things that that media folks do kind of gets into my spaces too, is I try to make sure our media teams are supported and really can kind of drive the best results. So definitely found very strong partnership with Paul's team and NinjaCat, and we're very excited to see how that platform is evolving and really kind of moving it real time with our needs. So with that, I'll turn it back to Paul.
Yeah, great. I'll take you through a couple slides and we'll jump in. The goal of this session, I hope you all leave here feeling one, a bit inspired, kind of what's the art of kind of what's possible, but also feeling like the things that we're going to talk about, the cool demos that Eric has built with his team, some of the cool things that it doesn't feel overwhelming, and I can connect some of the technical dots from just A to Z of what is it actually like to build an agent? Am I technical enough to do that? And that's what I hope to demystify. And hopefully we deliver on that promise in the next couple of minutes. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay. Every presentation needs to start with a little problem slide. I mean, typically it depends what your role is within the organization. At a leadership level, the big themes there is, how do we make more money, save money, and mitigate risk? How do we differentiate? How do we scale without adding headcount? How do we eliminate mistakes, catch smoke before the fire? If you're on more of like the data insights analytics teams, you might have a different set of pressure. And those are some of the ones that we're going to focus on today around, you're being challenged to just do things better, cheaper, faster. And that's around how do we get all of our data unified in a way that becomes usable for all these agentic use cases? How do we then, deliver the insights as we heard about earlier? We can't take, days or weeks any longer to analyze what's going on with this campaign before we go pull some levers. We need to be making decisions near real time for them to have the truest impact. So the good news is that we've proven that AI agents can help on all those fronts. And you probably know what an agent is, but I want to just demystify it and take it down another technical layer. So at a high level, an agent's a system that can perceive its environment, make decisions, and take actions to achieve goals, often autonomously. But I want to take everyone down just one more layer of how we're leading our team towards this vision of enterprise marketing AGI, the ability for AI agents that could do any cognitive marketing task as good or better than the average human, right? Still many of those tasks human in the loop and other things that are just autonomous, go and find anomalies and do other things. But ultimately, the goal is to amplify the impact of everybody within these organizations. But the next layer down of how we're getting there and how I'm leading my team, there's MTTD, as I like to say, models, tools, techniques, and data. With these four ingredients and the right four ingredients, you can literally automate any cognitive task that could be done with a keyboard, video, or mouse, right? So the models, as we all know, are synthetic intelligence of the entire internet and reasoning engines. Last year, they were high school grade, and as of today, December 3rd, they are basically PhD level in every category. So what they're going to bring is, given a goal, build me a media mix model or an optimized thing or find an anomaly. They're really good at being like, all right, let's go reason our way to figure that. But the blockers typically is, do we have access to the context to give to the AI to make great decisions? And one of the biggest blockers there is the data, as the previous speakers were talking about there, is how do you get all of that data, not just the unstructured chat your PDF stuff, but how do we unlock all the audience data? How do we unlock all the campaign performance data? How do we unlock all the data that's sitting in a CRM, that structured stuff that's in tables from just everywhere, all these disparate sources, so we can bring that into the brains, the models for the decision making. But once you're able to unlock that, give that data context to the models, and they come up with really good plans, they want to act. They're like, cool, I figured out a great plan, but now I want to go do the thing. What is that thing? That thing could be anything. It could be, create a video, create an image, make a phone call, start a campaign, stop a campaign, add some negative keywords, as we'll see today, to that we're wasting money on directly inside of AdWords. It can really be anything. And that's what the tools is, right? All the actions that it can take. And then the techniques are how you just bundle all of these pieces together into what you call orchestration, the agent orchestration platform, right? How you bring them together and all the clever things that you'll see today of how we bring them together. Um, Now, what we wanted to do today was show some real world use cases that Eric and his team, they've built so many different agents, but they're going to take us through just two of the ones today in a little bit more detail, explain, what the agents are, why they built them, the impact they had, and then we'll actually show you a little bit behind the scenes of how they built this agent. And then after that, we've been challenged, can we build an agent in 3 minutes or less? And then I'll hit you with an art of possible and a bunch of different cool use cases where hopefully you leave saying, what the heck just happened? That was wild. But Eric, if you don't mind, can you take us through the two
Yeah,
agents
definitely.
we're highlighting today?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much. So my team's mission is really about driving outstanding performance for our clients. And to Paul's point, we've been building out special purpose agents with NinjaCat that combine all the deep data sources with the AI automation capabilities. And this ability to work with large data sets is really what convinced us to use the NinjaCat platform. We have some other tools as well, but we found that we tend to usually run into issues when we're trying to get to deep insights. So the nice other thing about this is the automation of the agents that we're seeing here is it really has helped reduce a lot of the busy work for my team. We heard this in the previous panel about, there's a little bit of concern about, if we automate too much or, the concern about maybe too much efficiency. I think really what we're seeing here is uh, by doing this, it's really giving my team more time to really do the real analysis work and really accelerating our time to insights. And so we've got two examples. One is what we have up on the screen here. The first is Meta Creative Carol. By the way, we love to give our agents human names. So you can definitely give us some other thoughts on other names for Meta. But Carol was born out of the challenge that social media marketing is very creative intensive and many assets, many placements to track. And with Carol, we've been able to go beyond just looking at campaigns and really dig into asset performance. So NinjaCat is able to merge all that performance data, but also all the contextual descriptions that we have around assets to give us a sense of not only which assets are performing well, but also what factors are helping grab attention and engagement. So, for example, we found out that lifestyle-oriented assets got better engagement than product-focused approaches. So, obviously we've got data. I'm the analyst guy. I could be doing this other way, but the challenge we'll run into is scale and just the ability to continue to monitor. And so what we've been able to do with this is we've been able to not only look at this, maybe not one time, but all the time, right? We have Carol running in the background and continually monitoring our programs. And so we can look at things like creative fatigue or wear out, as we often call creative fatigue. And it's always a concern is, how long is these assets going to work? What's the shelf life for social media assets? It's usually pretty short. And so we've trained Carol to identify areas where creative engagement is falling off, and that this tells us it's time to create some new assets to put out there. One of the best part about this agent, and I'm sure if anybody that's played with agents, you see a wall of text coming back. And so instead of getting that wall of text, which is very typical, I get an engaging dashboard, which Paul will show in a few minutes, with summarized findings and recommendations. So again, teeing that up, something exciting to come. We'll see that in a few minutes. Um, Overall, the impact we're seeing from using Carol is that it allows us to do a depth of analysis that was just too big to do manually. And with the ability to respond more quickly for creative optimizations, we're seeing a 30% increase in consumer engagement. So that's just one example. We've got another one. So we can kind of go beyond just the kind of immediate channel. And kind of, Paul, if you don't mind switching to the next slide, we'll go into commerce funnel felicity. And this is we've taken a little bit more holistic approach here. So we're with the previous program, we're really looking at meta optimization. In this case, we're looking at the entire commerce experience that we have, and we have a lot of revenue being generated by this experience. And so we need to continuously keep an eye on the conversion path and ensure that it's not eroding. while there's still continued pressure to improve transaction rates. So we built Felicity to work behind the scenes to monitor the conversion funnel, keeping an eye out for anomalies in inbound channels, bot activity, and customer issues. So Felicity combines all that digital traffic data with customer segment performance, and the exciting part, also ongoing customer feedback. So we've taken Medallia data and loaded that into the tool as well. And so we are combining what people do with what people raise concerns about to get a more complete view of customer challenges in the funnel. Felicity also gives us the ability to track emerging trends in real time and rapidly respond. And this has been very, very helpful because it allows us to see beyond what we've been able, even we thought we might anticipate when we put things together. So, for example, we noticed an increased challenge with certain Canadian markets, something we don't necessarily consider as a scenario when we created the agent, but it came up. And so it just saved a lot of our effort. And we didn't even think that that was going to be a problem for us. So how is this impacting us? Well, we've been able to take these agent learnings, we're weaving those into site improvements, and we're massively increasing our transaction close rates as a result of these findings. And we're able to do this in a fraction of the time it's taken historically, at the same time improving overall conversion rates. So with this,
Okay.
just two examples here. Obviously, there's some more behind this as well. These are just slides, but Paul's going to show us a little bit what this looks like on the inside.
Yeah, so I think just for time, what I'll do is maybe we'll pick. I'm going to show the output first of
Okay.
the creative one because I think the second one where you have multiple data sets is probably even a little bit more valuable for us to hang some time on. So if you don't mind, just share the output that we see here, and then we'll kind of work our way back to how you built this one.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is when I talked about the no longer seeing a wall of text. This is exactly what I was talking about, is we can see, the actual metacreative experience here. So, we talked about the ability to kind of monitor things. And so what this does when it gets done with all of the activity is it puts us together this nice one-pager dashboard. So we can see these charts on here, but then it takes all that and makes it into a very nice interface that we can kind of look at. And so behind the scenes, then you can see these are all the things that are running to build that out. We've got all these queries, we've got all this data behind it, and all these things are executing to build that dashboard to put it together. So it's again, and a lot of one nice thing with this, especially given the tools we're using, there's a lot of code being generated. So it's not simply prompts, but quite a bit of code generation that's also helping uh, pull the results together.
And I think one thing that's really cool here is, as you said, the wall of text type concept here. So
Yes.
you tied this agent to a sub agent called Presentation Builder Pat that takes that wall of text, right, and says, all right, here's all the data, here's all the insights. We don't want wall of text. We have a client deliverable right here and turn it into something beautiful. And that's how it goes from AI in a chat session that's doing something really impressive, all the tools, models, tools, technique coming together to find the data sets, do the natural language SQL, bring on the Python tools to do the different insights and calculations, and then finalizing it off with a sub agent called Presentation Builder Pat that turns all that data. And basically, this is like generative AI, a generative dashboard, if you will. The AI figured out, we didn't tell it how to present the data. It figured out, given this data, what is the best way to break up this data and deliver it to the consumer on the other end right here. So love that you took this approach on this specific agent. Another agent that you called out there was the Commerce Funnel Felicity. And I think what I want to do is hang on a little bit of configuration, again, just to
Sure.
demystify some of the steps here, right? So as far as some of the steps for those, I'll just go over here to make it a little bit more things. So in NinjaCat, we make it easy because we have hundreds of integrations to just go through and connect up to all your sources of data through all the different marketing platforms to connect to your data warehouses, whatever it might be. So this is to be able to bring those as available data sets that the agents can use as context. So just want to explain how the data got here. But Eric, if you don't mind, take it from here, explain some of the
Yeah,
data
definitely.
sets that are coming in.
Yeah, so definitely, and obviously having all those connectors and everything makes our life a hell of a lot easier. And what you can see here in the case of Commerce Funnel Felicity is we have three different GA data sources attached here. One that gets into a lot of stories around the pages and events, the details around landing pages, what's happening, key events happening. We also have information on how we source traffic. And then finally, we have purchase journey data, right? So by having these different types of data sources, as well as medallia data, which we also plug in. This gives a really good, core set of things for the agent to work with. And then the other piece, obviously beyond knowledge, is the prompting, right? Which is a combination of largely prompts, but also even starts to look like code at certain points. And a lot of what we can see there is just various steps that we go through to calculate things in the upfront, right? We have certain key metrics we want to look at. We have certain benchmark ranges we're asking the agents to assess against. And we're kind of stepping it through that process in a series of steps to make sure that the logic flow is very clear and easy to understand. And then finally, when we get the last part of this, is we take all the medallia data, apply that to the end of the process, and then pull all this together into a set of insights. So you can kind of see quite a bit of code here. Now, it looks like I spent a lot of time writing this. The reality is not so much. I wish I was this profoundly good at writing these prompts. And Paul will show an example of this in a minute, but a large part of this is using Agent Builder to build the agent, right? So agents that build agents. And again, you can also see our sub-agent presentation, Pat here, who helps create all that beautiful output as well. So these
Mhm.
agents are packed with all these capabilities, with the tools, the ability to kind of interface with them, to say what we want, and then we get this beautiful output as a result of it. And
Yeah.
by the way, this knocks our clients' socks off whenever we show this to people.
Exactly. So, at a high level, just, what are we seeing here in this output?
Yeah. So for example, yeah, so this is really, it's kind of a decomposition, right, of kind of what we see, right? So first and foremost, understanding, identifying any kind of the key gaps for us, right? First and foremost, where are we seeing problems, giving some sense of, key metrics, through the funnel in terms of performance, and then kind of a little bit more deep dive. The nice thing is it does a really good job of taking each of the areas where we might see a performance problem and isolating those out and telling us what's happening in those particular areas, as well as you can see the little green bright spot, right? Giving us a good stroke when we do well as well. But we can also see, beyond just the overall views, we can get into device performance, traffic sources. We can get a lot of additional data in here. And then what it does a really nice job at the end is really kind of giving a sense of, well, you know what, if we made some recommendations, here's how much more money you would make in the process, right? And these are some of the key recommendations. It's done a really nice job of not only putting together what it is, but also what the estimated impact for it would be. So again, really helping us move from just looking at data to really start to action and really start to make some real changes to our site.
It's so good, so impactful, and so beautiful, the outputs here. So yeah, why don't we build one with everybody and see if we could do it in that 2 minute timer, 3 minute timer. What we're going to do is we're going to build an agent together called Negative Nancy, whose mission is to help the team identify negative keywords that we should consider. Those are low performing keywords in Google Ads that we're probably just wasting money. So we want to add them as negatives and block them, right? So step one would be, go through, connect up to Google Ads. And then once we're inside Google Ads, we're going to need to make sure that we're pulling in all those different dimensions of data that have the data that we need. So we already have it in this one, but this is the search query performance and the keyword performance data sets. Once those are ingested into your data cloud, then it's all about Bob, right? Bob is the agent that builds agents. One of the things we learned getting agents successfully into production, you've heard of such high failure rates. One of the things that we found, some lessons learned along the way, is originally thought who's going to build the agents in all these organizations? It's going to be the product teams, it's going to be engineering teams. The thing is they can build a prototype, right? But there's a big difference between a prototype and a demo versus an agent that can do the task as good or better than a human. And if it can't get what's called across that last mile, that last 20% of all the nuance of being an expert in that specific task, it's just a toy demo. So what we realized needed to be true is the people that need to build the agents need to be the people closest to the task. They need to have a system that is not technical, doesn't overwhelm them, and they could just bring their expertise into an agent building platform. So that's our why as to why we built Bob. So what it now looks like is somebody comes in here to new agent and they just describe the Bob. What is the agent they want to build? So we'll do that right now. We'll say, hey Bob, we need to build an agent for the team that helps them optimize Google Ads keyword performance. Specifically, we want to call the agent Negative Nancy, and her mission will be to identify underperforming keywords that are likely wasting money. Should be able to look at the Google Ads search query performance data sets and return useful insights and recommendations as to which keywords we should block. And the cool thing is you don't have to overthink it. I like vibe coding my agents, right? Just describe the task, right, at a high level, and then Bob gets to work. And you can see Bob's thinking. So it's going to go through probably 4 to 5 steps here. The first thing that it's going to do is, figure out this task, decompose it, create an identity. The first thing that Bob did was we need a logo for Negative Nancy. Check. Good job. The next thing you'll see here is searching data sets. It realizes that this is a data-driven agent, right? It needs to be able to go into the data set to analyze, past performance to make recommendations. All right, so it's now going through what could be hundreds or potentially thousands of tables to be like, of all this mess of data that's coming in, which ones are most relevant to this specific task? And then it returns those to the user, right? Some good matches for us, right? And I could be like, cool. It's explaining why we should use that data set, so it reduces some cognitive load there. And then we say, yep, use one. And then from here, it's going to do the next step. What is the next step? Prompting, right? We all heard or thought at one point all of our jobs were going to become prompt engineers. Everyone needs to learn how to prompt until we realize that the AI is way better at writing prompts than we are. So we offload that responsibility of good prompt structure and all of the fine details, the nuanced step-by-step instructions to Bob. So Bob right now is going through that task and decomposing all the step-by-step standard operating procedures, whatever you want to call it, and it's going to write our first draft of our prompt for us. You're going to be able to see it, you're going to be able to edit it, but it's going to get us from, a 0 to 1 without us having to overthink prompt engineering and just keeping our focus on what is the task. And then the last step, if you can see over here, is the tool. So the agent is built. I don't know what the timing was there. I think it was less than 3 minutes, right? But what we don't know is this agent amazing or does it totally stink? Because that's AI. Were we ambiguous? Did it understand that we're in this industry versus this industry? But within 2 minutes, you get your V1 of an agent and you could start testing it immediately on the right-hand side. So I'm going to say go for Coca-Cola and we're going to kick off the V1 version. Okay. Now, while that's kicking off, I just want to explain everything that Bob set up for us. Given the short task description, Bob went through the data sets, connected that data set, and an agent can have one or multiple data sets, as you saw in Erick's agent as an example. Bob created a logo for us, and then Bob gave us step-by-step instructions, aka a very detailed prompt of all the steps it should take, as well as they call it few shot examples. We don't want this agent to be random every time. Like we want it to consistently get data, the same way. Maybe it has a little autonomy to analyze the data in different ways, but like it needs to be consistent in the way it retrieves the data as a starting point. So Bob figures out the best way to retrieve that initial data, puts examples of the SQL queries that it's going to use to get the initial data. Bob sets the model for us. So as the earlier speakers are speaking about, it's important to support all the models. They all have strengths. They all have different weaknesses. Our daily driver, we haven't found one better than Claude Sonnet 4.5 or the Opus models that just came out, but they're all supported in here. Your agents could be fully autonomous, right? So you might want some anomaly detection agents, alert us of like event drop-offs in GA4, alert us of overspends in client campaigns, alert us to upsell opportunities, high-performing campaigns that are limited by budget that we need to go get the sales team on, right? So there's lots of use cases for full autonomous, especially in the monitoring side of things, or you can trigger them by like a webhook when we change a status in a CRM, when a call completes, whatever it might be. You saw our sub-agent in Erick's example where we brought in presentation builder Pat, and then that concept again, models, tools, techniques, and data. Here's all the available tools that an agent needs. So there's a concept of built-in tools like browser use. If there's no API, it'll go fire up a browser, click on buttons, do whatever it needs to do. Code interpreting is doing all that. Python data science has built-in Google searches, built-in perplexity, built-in image generation, editing, video generation using VO3, web scraping, and then a whole bunch of core tools that allow it to do all that data magic, the natural language and such. So over on the right-hand side, we have our V1 agent, right? So if we said go for Coca-Cola, it goes through, it executes all those different tools, the natural language to query, the Python scripts, and then gives us our outputs. Now, the cool thing here is that agents are now going beyond insights and recommendations and going into optimization. So I could come here and say, hey, Bob, this agent is great, returns helpful insights and recommendations, but we want to take it to the next level and have automated optimizations. Can you create a custom action using the custom action builder called add negative keywords that will allow the user to apply the recommended negative keywords directly into Google Ads at the account level, be sure to use service account credentials. So the process here, I have a lot going on. I'm building on the left, I'm testing on the right. On the right-hand side, I could say, Bob, great job, but again, we need to steer this to this industry or this industry. It'll update the CTRs, for example. But the thing I just did here, we said models, tools, techniques, and data, the ability to do literally any task that could be done with a keyboard, video, or mouse. And the blocker is being, do we have access to the data, or do we have the tool that can go perform that action? In this case, is go add the negative keyword. It could be start campaign, stop campaign. That's not a built-in action, but Bob has been trained on how to build a custom action to literally do anything on the internet as long as they're an API. Make a phone call, anything. So it's researching all the API docs. How do we authenticate to Google Ads? What's the endpoint to add the negative keywords? If it was, Twilio to make a phone call, it would go through a similar thing here. And probably in about 30 seconds or so, we're going to see a cool new integration pop up called add negative keywords. That's just going to ask us for our API key. And then this agent has the ability to perform that task. All right, so that's at a very high level, just how approachable it is to build an agent. And it is very important that the people closest to the task are the ones that are building their own agents. I know we're close on time here. If I can recapture, Jeremy, just like 3 more minutes to show a couple of the other art of possible agents, I'd love to have people walk away with an additional wow factor on some of them. So other use cases that you can think about with like data-driven agents, it could be anything from concepts like media mix modeling. We all know how hard that is, right? You need to have a data scientist that knows how to do lagged effect analysis, right? How to build a model, rate a model, do diminishing returns. You could build an agent for that. That can rip through a data set, that has all your digital as well as linear campaigns and spend and the thing you're trying to drive like revenue, give it to an agent like Media Mix Mary, and it's going to rip through all those complex data science tasks. It did the lagged effect analysis. It then did 17 tasks here where it's building the model, rating the model, doing the diminishing returns analysis per channel, coming up based on the scenario models that it did, saying if we were to implement these recommended changes, this brand, this advertiser could potentially see a lift of 24%, right? And everything is verifiable. You can see all the data science that it worked out there. It also realized that there were some seasonal patterns in the data. So we said, yeah, let's go dig into those. And then again, one of our favorite tricks is while the AI is doing so much busy work, how do we just turn this so what into something that is digestible by the team? So we call in that sub agent and we say, just build us a hyper optimized week by week media plan, right? And then you could just hand this off to the customer or the teams that are executing. So that's a very complex example. A couple other ones in the agency environment that people find insanely helpful is things like call prep, right? When your team is jumping on with a customer doing their monthly review, you can have an agent that can rip through all of the data, look at data in different ways, and basically load their lips so that they're not just making things up and they're showing up to that call with the most helpful insights about what the wins are, what the opportunities are to improve. As you could see here, right? Your cost per acquisition dropped while conversions increased 150%. So that's super helpful to anybody that has to do those monthly calls with their customers. And then it goes beyond that. I mean, you could literally build agents because Bob, to do any type of workflow, answer engine optimization is a very big topic right now. So in 5 minutes, we told Bob, build an agent that scrapes the website, and then it has that context. And then after it scrapes the website, actually, because Perplexity is one of the built-in tools, it's able to come up with the queries it thinks that business wants to show up for, right? AI agents for marketing automation, yeah, we want to show up for that in Perplexity. So it's then able to figure out the queries, execute those queries directly in platform itself, see the results as well as the citations that are coming back, do that for all of our top queries, and then it has so much context. It scraped our website, it knows the results are actually coming back, figured out the content gaps, and therefore I can come down here and say for this specific query, best marketing data integration tools for enterprise agencies, build me a winner blog post here. And then from there, you can automate to say, now post to our CMS and have this doing 2 a week or 3 a week with a human in the loop approval. And as one of those just, compounding growth engines there. And then one more I'd like to show, there's so many, but one more I definitely want to show that's a very fun one is the last one I was trying here. So As we think about agencies and where NinjaCat started 13 years ago was client reporting and things that we found, right, in 13 years of doing client reporting for agencies, almost nobody logs into dashboards, right? It's data vomit, it's meters and gauges in a dashboard. So what are more compelling ways that you can tell the stories of the services that you delivered? Here's what we did, here's the impact it had, here's why you should not only continue doing business with us, here's why you should do more business with us. Look at all the high performing campaigns that are limited by budget, right? So we've been experimenting with this concept of like agentic and always on agentic reporting agents that can be more intelligent and know your customer. What's their preference? Are they executive level? Are they strategic? Are they very tactical? And let the AI agent go ahead and build that for you. Now, my most recent example, I needed to test out the new Nano Banana models and the new VO 3.1 models. So took a crack at an agent. It's connected to NinjaCat's data right now. But my wife and I were watching a Dunkin' Donuts commercial that was claymation, and she was like, "This is adorable. Is this AI?" And I had my laptop open, and I gave it this prompt for Coca-Cola, but generate an adorable claymation infographic. It then rips through, gets all of the data that it needs, takes that data, is passing it into Nano Banana, the image generation model, to create individual slides to just highlight the trends of the CTR that jumped through the roof here and tell that story. But then we gave it a workflow, and then one of the cool things with the VO 3.1 models, the video generation, is you can give it a first image and a last image, and it's really good at coming up with those transitional type videos. So then we let it do that, and then the last step, we said take it all, and then once you're done, turn it into a interactive web presentation. And here's the output. It knew it was Coca-Cola. It wrote this web presentation to layer this into. You can even see the bubbles, which is really creative. And then if this is not the most adorable client reporting you've ever seen, I don't know what else it is, but watch what it did. This blew my mind. I think even if you delivered some bad news, they probably would care a little bit less if it was delivered in such a enjoyable format. Now, again, whether that's professional enough or not, but you can just give it. I gave it the Coca-Cola their first slide from their annual presentation, publicly found it, and then it mimicked all the styles exactly for that. So, just really the art of what's possible. And here's what I want to leave you with: is when you think that those four ingredients, models, tools, techniques, and data, you could literally automate any cognitive task if you don't have a keyboard, video, or mouse, and that it's approachable. Systems like NinjaCat and others, right? You can start small, doing a lot of the stuff in Claude or ChatGPT with custom GPTs, but everybody's making it more approachable. So I just challenge everybody to, if you haven't tried to build an agent, hopefully we inspired you of some ideas, right? And try to build one. And if Eric or myself could be helpful, please reach out. We're really passionate about this, helping customers be more successful and the art of what's possible with AI agents. So I'll leave it
That was
with that.
amazing. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to walk us through that. Super impressive stuff.